What is cracking, people? Let's get into a new week. So I did the recap with the group yesterday. There was about 50% of trades for last week. So if you were to take every trade possible, it was 49% gain. If you were to just take one trade a day, it was about 18% gain. So last week across EU, GU, and AU, we had the best price action I've seen all year. So I actually fumbled last week. I was down 1%, and I'm posting that on Twitter every day. You guys will see the trades I take, and if I take anything, if it's a win, if it's a loss, etc., and so forth. And then obviously I go through that in the group as well. So um, links are down below, premiums down below. You've got all the free stuff down below as well: Twitter, Telegram, free Discord, all that's below. Let's get into this week and what we're kind of looking for. So I will start with GU. Actually, we'll start with EU. I've kind of done an overall look of what I'm kind of looking at for this week. But it's just a continuation of last week. So as you can see, we actually predicted last week to a T on EU and GU and AU. All of them were perfect. So if you haven't seen last week's weekly outlook, go and compare with this week and kind of look at the week. I would say it's probably the best I've predicted a week ever in my trading, which is pretty cool. Now that played out on every time frame, and that's why there was a trade every day. So all I'm looking for is to continue on the back of that analysis. And that analysis is telling me that we're selling. So we've obviously had that daily break of structure. We've pulled up in the 4 hour. I don't have any breaks of structure internally in this direction for the 4 hour. So I've got a mitigation, inducement to mitigation of the 4 hour. And I'm just expecting that to keep selling. Now, we should at least sell down to this area. I don't think we've created enough liquidity in here for that type of problem yet. What I'd be looking at is more or less something like this. If we're going to buy it, I need something like that, okay? Reason being, we would have just come in that point, built up that internal liquidity, and at least created something through that. But I don't think that's going to happen, so I just want to keep selling. So if I jump down to the 15 minute and we kind of have a look, coming into today, we're not really seeing a lot. We had really good structure on Friday. We had an A plus entry on GU and on AU. AU I took, which was a break even, and GU was I think the best trade we've had probably all year. Dylan took that in our group, so that's in the trade proof as well. He'll obviously do a breakdown for his YouTube and the group. So coming into today, what I'm kind of seeing on EU is just to keep selling. We've obviously got the mitigation of this structural point and break. You can more or less have that as your internal break now. That was just more or less moving down to that. So you've got push down, break, mitigation of decisional, and then kind of push off of that and push down. So we haven't had more or less a break internally. We are in this area of, realistically, that's our 15-minute bullish range. Just understand where we're coming from. This is that decisional, which we've mitigated and done nothing with. So I'm expecting to obviously sell through this decisional. I want to sell at least into a minimum of this level here. Looking internally at the 15-minute, we need an inducement of some sort. It's giving us nothing. It's just mitigating, pushing, mitigating, pushing. What I'd be looking at is we've got this area here. I kind of want to sell this. So I'm looking for that, okay? And in the opposite way, I'm looking for buying that direction. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at coming today. We've got ages. I think basically 2.5 hours till open, so we've got a long time. But that's what I'm looking at coming into today on EU. Now GU on the 4 hour played out just so cleanly to that hourly point. Inducement, mitigation, push back down. All I'm expecting is a reaction off of here and then to keep selling. The entry on Friday was in here. It was so clean. And this would be one that I said in the Friday pre-market that you'd want to hold to that low. In terms of what we've got internally in here, we've got internal break. That was more or less our 15-minute range here. Once you mitigate extreme, none of this was going to hold. We would coming down to here as a minimum, which we've just taken, disregarded entirely. I'm expecting a reaction off of here, just nothing too large. Until we get any breaks or anything, I don't want to buy. But what we could kind of see happen is like a 15-minute break, slow complex pullback up to an area like this, which is that retest of that internal break, and then sell down, taking that low and taking that low, continuing with that kind of daily structure that we wanted, that 4-hour structure, continuing to sell. At the moment, I don't have anything on GU to work with in here. There's no 15-minute structure that holds any weight. We've obviously just got this small little internal range here. In terms of an area in here, I would more or less be okay trading from. Maybe if we came and like mitigated here on open and had a medium inducement of some sort, that's okay. But I'd rather just keep selling. So what I'd be looking for is actually something like sells to possibly buyers up to that idea, which is just a possibility. So what I'll do is we'll mark that out here. So what I'll be looking for is that move here, which will be the main key move. So this portion here today. And then from there, we can analyze whether or not we're going to complete that complex pullback to the upside, or we're just going to call it there and sell through this point and be done and dusted through that. We're coming from an extreme, so this just holds no weight. Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward from a standpoint. But I am also open to the complex pullback part and portion of this move here, if we start doing that. So if we kind of break this high and then confirm a retracement up to this area, I will look to buy up to this area to then sell. It'll generate so much liquidity, which will be very, very clean. And that'll be pretty A+ in my books. Okay, so they're kind of the two options coming today. But it's a Monday. And like I said, we've got 2 hours. But really, really clean high time frame outlook. AU has done, AU to me was the cleanest and the most obvious all week. Pull up, mitigation, pull down, pull up, mitigation, pull down, and it just did the same thing over and over again. Like I said, I took a break even internally in here on Friday, which ended up running. And this was pretty fucking obvious in my opinion. Realistically, this is just finishing the structure cycle in the 15-minute and the daily and the 4-hour all at once. We have nothing to do with this. On the daily, if we kind of have a look at where we're at, yes, you can look at that bigger weekly outlook, but for me, I just had that as my daily, and then that as my 4-hour. They were the same. Once we take this low, it's basically a complete reset. So all I'd be looking at coming into AU today is just to like continue with that sell. We've now broken 15-minute structure from a valid point. We've got no structure here. I actually don't see anything on AU. So AU is off limits for me today. Such a clean entry. The entry I took, for you guys wondering, which is on Twitter as well, was this entry here with the 7 pip stop loss. That's the break even I took. Like I said, this will just fall off. So if you guys watched my Friday call, this was really obvious. And a lot of you guys in the free Telegram did actually take a sell. So good stuff there. So AU off limits today. Just want to continue with that bearish narrative, which we've already completed. So I'll need AU now to do something again before we can even move forward. But I expect it to keep selling. DXY, these were the options coming into last week. This one's played out perfectly. Take high, take low, mitigation of point. I'm expecting this to push up. We've now got, if we kind of read the structure we have the decisional that we've induced into the mitigation of. This now should not hold. I'm expecting this to be a smart money trap to get that. That's what I want to see coming into today. It lines up with every other pair we watch. So react off this point, small reaction, push through, take trend line, US dollar rally, which is what we expected this to do last week. So really straightforward, simple outlook. Literally that. Come and take this high, reevaluate what the go is after that. New range confirmed, and then we kind of go from there. So that's all I've got for today. Last week, like I said, was really, really good. If you didn't look at any of the pre-markets last week, go and look at every single one. They're really, really good to compare with your analysis for the week. Go back test last week. If you're in the premium, go and watch that masterclass. I went through every trade that was possible. There was a trade on every pair basically every day. 48% gain possibility with no valid losses based on the system. Very, very clean. Other than that, let's kind of get into this week, be live with the group tomorrow, and let's go from there. So let's have a good week. Let's finish off March with a bang. It's been really good price action for March so far. I am personally up about 5.8%-ish. Like I said, fumbled the ball last week, which was the kind of the big week of the month. But we will keep at it. I'll keep you guys updated. Let's have a good Monday.